Flippant, right? How would you have reacted in his place? And above all, what the hell is this mess? Who posted this video? What's hiding behind it? Where does it come from? Why is this video one of the biggest mysteries on TikTok right now? Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about one of the things I'm most passionate about on this YouTube channel. We're going to talk about mysteries surrounding TikTok. More specifically, 5 terrifying cases that happened in connection with TikTok. It's been a long time since we sat down on this YouTube channel to tell you some horror stories, so I thought, given the thousands of comments I get every week, maybe now is the time. By the way, it's time for me to take a quick detour to tell you about something crazy. It's literally the best all-in-one management software. Of course, I'm talking about Odoo. Hey, I'm interested. Okay. Anyway, it's the ideal solution for entrepreneurs. Invoicing, project management, website creation, all possible. No, I usually struggle with that. Timothy, be quiet, you're pushing it. Okay, I'll stop. Today, I'd especially like to talk to you about the Odoo project app. As usual with them, you can guess, it's super easy to use, it's smooth, and on top of that, it's really nice looking. Like really nice looking. Honestly, I can't stand ugly project management apps anymore. Wow. But I'll stop pushing it. But it's true that it's really beautiful though. Thanks to this app, you can stay organized with a detailed dashboard. In addition to being able to automate certain tasks, you can also track the collected information in real time. Now you might ask me, what more can Odoo offer? Well, there's something else. Direct collaboration with your team on your projects to move forward together, hand in hand, even remotely. Yeah, that's it. It's too much. There are too many things. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I'm doing too much. I'm really doing too much. Really, Odoo is the complete solution to support you in your projects. And the best part of all this, tell me, the first application, hosting and support are free for life. If that's not crazy, I don't know what is. That's right, let's go. So honestly, I don't know what you're waiting for. To visit Odoo, use the first link in the description. Your projects are waiting. Now back to the investigation. The person who filmed her is named Johanna. Johanna is a young woman, 21 years old, very bright and cheerful. She quit her job to go back to school for cosmetology. And she dedicates all her free time to creating content on TikTok, which has become a passion for her. Her account grew slowly. She started to attract people. She loved talking about her passions, giving makeup tips, talking with people. She really discovered a calling. She would have loved to make a living from it. We all know it can be complicated, but that doesn't stop her from having fun. Her viewers find her funny and lively, and she's very engaging with her community thanks to her vibrant, caring personality. Johanna unlocked something pretty cool on TikTok. It's called Going Live. And believe me, she was in for some surprises. When she started her first live, there were only 20 people. No big deal. When she did the second one, 40, the third, 100 the fourth, 200 people. Basically, over time, she started to build a small community. They loved watching her lives, her streams, her daily life, and so on. Until the day she posted this. Thank you. Terrifying, isn't it? It doesn't fit at all with the kind of videos Johanna made. It all happened one evening, during autumn. The days were getting shorter. People tend to go home faster. They don't go out as much as in summer. That's normal. Our young TikToker loves her cocoon and says so openly. She's unashamed and discusses her insecurities freely. And even if not everyone likes it, she's well liked for her authenticity. Anyway, everything was fine that day. Night had fallen over the small town where the young woman lives. It was a bit of a scary night. Thunder was rumbling. The wind was blowing hard. Rain was beating against her windows. The shadows of the trees were reflected on the walls. In short, nothing to really reassure her. So she starts playing music and launches her stream on TikTok. There's nothing like talking to people to forget about the storm. And with a bit of luck, it'll pass quickly. The conversation quickly draws her in. I told you, talking helps you forget what's happening around you. And yet, the weather hasn't improved. It's actually worse. The storm is rumbling. During her live, you can hear the thunder, the storm in the background, as if the weather was raging over her house. The live goes on for a bit, and you can see the young girl growing more reassured and calm. She talks to people to distract herself from the storm outside. All of that lasted until around 11:30 p.m. Indeed, at that time, the lights suddenly go out in her house. Only her phone keeps her from being completely in the dark. Frightened, she looks out the window, and it's not a general blackout, which means it's probably just her place that lost power. She sighs and reassures her viewers. She grabs her phone, not feeling very reassured, and decides to venture into her small house to turn the power back on. At the same time, venturing into her small house, in the dark, with the storm outside, with strange shadows. Yeah, it's really creepy. Then, one of the shutters bangs. Yeah, it's the kind of thing you usually only see in horror movies, but she's living it for real. She was literally doing a live stream peacefully when the electricity went out in her house during the storm. Anyway, she starts heading to her garage to reset the breaker. Up to that point, nothing unusual. Except maybe a slight creaking sound on the ground floor. A creak as if someone was walking around on her ground floor, stepping on the wooden floor. Strange, but it's probably just the sound of the wind, the storm outside. In short, nothing to worry about. I'm warning you though, all the stories you're going to see in this video are terrifying cases, just in case you didn't get it. If you're sensitive, I suggest leaving the video now. Otherwise, stay, but good luck with what's next. She tries to reassure herself by reading the chat and telling herself it'll be fine. She keeps going until she reaches the stairs she could have taken, but after the bang from the kitchen, she doesn't. At this point, I think it's important to mention something. Actually, there isn't supposed to be anyone in her house. There you go. Now that you've noted that, let's continue. Obviously, I don't need to mention it, but Johanna doesn't have any pets. Right, so it can't be her cat or her dog because she doesn't have any. That's it. She stands frozen in place for a few moments, wondering if she really heard something. Maybe she imagined it after all. Unfortunately, the footsteps leave no doubt. There's someone in her house. Slowly, her heart pounding, she turns around. Her viewers have understood exactly what's happening. At that moment, the chat is spamming messages like, "There's someone," "There were footsteps," and "There's someone in your house." Not exactly reassuring for the young woman, who also can't call anyone. She stays live, just to have witnesses in case something happens. By the way, I'm curious, what would you have done? Would you have ended the live and taken the risk to call someone? Or would you have stayed live, maybe to discourage the person from attacking if there really was someone in her house? I think I would have ended the live and called the police anyway. Honestly, I admit it's tempting to stay live and think, well, at least 200 people can see what's happening. In silence, she returns to her room, locks the door, and hides in her closet. Behind her long dresses, it's the only place where she felt safe. Despite the panic, she takes control of the situation. She tells her viewers that she's going to send a message to her best friend so she can call the police. She's in tears. From her room, she can't hear anything anymore. But she's really scared that he's still in the house. So, she doesn't move. She waits, trying hard to hold back her tears. After several long minutes, her best friend, whom she messaged, confirmed that the police were on their way. Just a few more minutes to wait. Except what her friend didn't tell her is that the police wouldn't arrive in 1 minute, or 2, but in 10 minutes. 10 minutes waiting in the closet. The guy has time to go around the house 5 times, ladies and gentlemen. It was the creaking of the stairs that made her jump. Her and all her viewers, everyone, could hear it. The footsteps are coming up, slowly. What's pretty crazy here is that we're literally witnessing someone breaking into her house while she was live. And so, I think it's pretty wild, because we're talking about a girl who talks about lifestyle, really chill stuff. And now, we literally find ourselves in a police investigation or criminal case where she's there, filming herself, doing a live stream, and someone is about to enter her room. It's unbelievable, and at the same time, extremely scary. She hears the footsteps coming up, slowly, no other sound, no laughter, nothing. Total silence. Total, except for those footsteps. They're moving down the hallway. She hears him enter every room. The first one, the second one. Everyone watching this live is terrified for poor Johanna, who's hiding in her closet, alone and defenseless. Then, disaster strikes. She hears, and she even sees, through the little holes in her closet, that her bedroom door is being opened. The guy enters Johanna's room. Johanna, who is currently home alone, is hiding in the closet of that same room. But here, Johanna made a mistake, or maybe she did the right thing. Actually, Johanna locked her bedroom door, so you might say that's a very good idea. Except that, as a result, it suggests that someone is in the room. So, obviously, the guy, trying to open the door, is going to force it. Then he'll stop and turn around. Case closed. The second case, no, I'm kidding. Obviously, no. The guy steps back, then charges at the door to break it down. He throws himself against the door. Once, twice. The door gives way on the 4th try. Johanna tries to make herself as small as possible. Her fear is greater than it has ever been. The footsteps go around the room. Everyone holds their breath for Johanna, praying that the man will leave. But hope vanishes. The moment on the live stream, and it's pretty horrible, you see the man open the wardrobe. Johanna, terrified. She is facing the guy who sees her, of course. The young woman is pulled out of the wardrobe, and suddenly she drops her phone. Her viewers helplessly witness her being beaten, which they can only hear. She is hit without a sound. They can't even hear her cry anymore. She must be paralyzed by what's happening to her, and no one can do anything. What happened next was only heard on the live stream, so you hear blows, blows, and more blows, but no screams, nothing, no cries, just blows. Then you hear a door, maybe downstairs, being broken down. You also hear, "Police, stop!" In English, of course, because this happened in England. Sirens can be heard. One officer notices the young woman's phone and crucially sees the live stream. So at that moment, after some sounds of a struggle, you understand that the guy, or the suspect, has been apprehended. The police officer tells everyone on the live stream that the situation is under control, and he disconnects it. So, I imagine that at this point, you want to know, who was this guy? Is Johanna okay? In short, a few months later, what happened next in this case? First of all, let me reassure you, the guy was indeed arrested. And do you want to know something funny? The guy managed to find out where Johanna lived, thanks to her live streams and her TikToks. That's how this weird stalker, this weird troll, broke into her place. Obviously, his goal was to do other things with her. I won't go into details since we're on a family channel, but you get the idea. Luckily, the police arrived in time, apprehended him, and now he's in prison. That's it. Johanna, on the other hand, completely stopped making videos. She never posted on TikTok again after that. And I think today, she's even switched to something else, which seems pretty normal to me. The next case we're going to cover in this video is rather surprising. Here is the next case. You see two photos, right? Well, these two photos are hiding something rather surprising. In the first photo, we see a young woman, brunette, slim, quite pretty and smiling. In the other photo, we see the same young woman, but she looks sad, thinner, her eyes swollen from crying. These two photos show the same person at two different times. Something terrible happened, and you're about to find out what happened. This second case is about Elena, a 21-year-old woman studying law at university. At first glance, she seems like an ordinary modern girl, but she has a passion shared by many people her age, posting on TikTok. Nothing very impressive. A lot of people do it nowadays. It's become quite common. Elena shares her knowledge of law through short, humorous sketches and anecdotes from her daily life. She had many followers in her city. She wasn't an international star, but that wasn't a bad thing. She had many admirers and was often stopped on the street for a photo or a chat. She lived in a duplex apartment far from the city center. She could be as loud as she wanted when her neighbors were gone, which was obvious in her videos, but our story starts during the Christmas holidays. Elena didn't seem to care much about the holidays. She streamed every day, even on Christmas Eve, for people who were alone like her. She always seemed very cheerful, despite her loneliness, loudly claiming that her family couldn't come because of the distance, and that she couldn't afford to visit them either. It was only shortly before New Year's that her followers started to notice some very strange things. One of her followers noticed that she no longer streamed live on Sundays or outside her home. She said it was too cold, and she babysat a child on Sundays, so she couldn't make videos as she wanted. No one doubted her at first, but then it became more obvious. Between Christmas and mid-January, Elena lost a lot of weight. She was already quite slim, so it was immediately noticeable. Many people asked her how she was doing, if she needed anything. She always responded politely and enthusiastically. According to her, she only had a few health problems, nothing very serious. But as you can imagine, behind this change in weight, there was something much more disturbing, something truly shocking. A lot of theories started circulating, especially since the young woman kept losing weight. She was unrecognizable, her cheeks were sunken, she had lost so much weight that you could see her ribs. You will soon understand that this case hides a much darker mystery than you can imagine. One evening, while she was live, another voice was heard, a man's voice. She made up an excuse about a TV show. She didn't think before she spoke. Because if everyone knew one thing about her, it was that she didn't have a TV. She was completely against it. So, whose voice was that? From that moment on, it was chaos on her account. Everyone rushed to the comments section to ask, okay, who is this guy? Did he kidnap her? Is he locking her up? Is he forcing her to do live streams? In fact, as the live streams and videos continued, she at least seemed motivated to make them. She obviously makes money from this, but people were wondering, is she the one getting the money? Or is it the voice behind all this, forcing her to make videos and taking the money? And is the person behind it even feeding her? Because the young woman is starting to lose more and more weight. As if someone had kidnapped her and was forcing her to make videos. This account is getting weirder and weirder, and it's becoming one of the biggest and darkest cases on TikTok. Some comments clearly claimed that the young woman was being held captive at home, probably by a man. Yet, just a while before, she had said that she wasn't ready to be in a relationship. So why? Who was it? It became hell for her. No matter how hard she tried to make excuses, no one believed her anymore. Everyone wanted to save her. Convinced that she was in danger, things went very far. One day, some people even sent the police to her house. So what they did was very simple. During a live stream, they sent the police to her house. Unfortunately, after that, things probably went badly for her. During that famous live stream, she turns around, ends the stream, and starts another one a few hours later. Her eyes are red, as if she'd cried all her tears. She explained to everyone that it had to stop, and that everyone needed to leave her alone. She ended by repeating this phrase over and over, "Leave me alone. For pity's sake, I want to be alone, again and again. It's very strange." That live stream was her last. After that, she never posted a single video again. Worse, about 10 days later, her account was set to private. People who knew her well tried to visit her and contact her by any means, but they found an empty apartment. She had moved out and changed all her contact information. It was impossible to find her. At least, that's the only information her loyal followers got. So what really happened? Did she really get kidnapped by someone? Was she just acting strange, maybe depressed? Anyway, we got some answers from a source who apparently is someone close to her. We still need to determine if this source is reliable or fake. As I said, since that live stream, we haven't heard from her. Only a source who is apparently close to her said that she's doing fine now. That she stepped away from social media and that she went through a very troubling period with a rather strange guy. We don't have much more information, but we can assume that the last live streams she did were indeed forced, where maybe her ex-partner was forcing her to go live. Apparently, the police intervention at her place was a good thing, and apparently, according to someone close to her, they arrested the guy and put him in custody. Let's say that's what happened. The next case we're going to look at is a bit different, and honestly, a lot of you sent it to me. It's about a rather strange TikTok account that, overnight, started posting videos where you see someone doing unboxings of packages. Normal, nothing surprising. Until the day when this same account started doing unboxings of love letters. They got creepier and creepier, stranger and stranger. Letters on which he wrote, "I love you. I think about you every day. You are my only reason to live. I can't wait to see you again. I know where you live. I see you. Hi there, turn around." Here are the letters this person receives at home. Okay, that's weird. It's weird, and we did a little investigation. We looked into all the dark sides of this TikTok to try to understand where it comes from, what's going on, and especially how it ended. Mathias was a 25-year-old man. He was a sports teacher and quite the ladies' man. I have to say, the guy was pretty good looking in his own way. Tall, dark-haired, with olive skin. He was very attractive. And he was highly sought after, whether by men or by women. He got into fights several times with jealous men, and he got slapped in the face more than once by women he had hurt. Yeah, that's what we call a player or ladies' man. He himself admits it, especially during his studies, when he was able to hook up with pretty much any girl. Anyway, the guy we're going to see in this next case is a real player, really good looking, but he went through something really surprising. You'll see. Fortunately, the working world made him mature, and he became more settled and less of a womanizer. He still took great care of himself. At the same time, as a fitness coach, he had to take care of his athletic body to stay in shape. He saw a lot of people at the gym where he worked. He gave a lot of personal training sessions. And above all, a few months after finishing his studies, he met someone. It was actually at that time that he started posting videos on TikTok where he talked about sports, fitness exercises, or where he talked about his life, his habits, his desires, his nights out, and so on. He was an outgoing man, a bit of a party goer. He was very well liked on social media and had built a small community of friendly people. So yeah, he got a lot of compliments about his physique, but he was learning more and more to distance himself from that and to ignore the flirtatious attempts from some of his female followers, who could be a bit too persistent. He sometimes had to block girls because so many messaged him. Impressive, right? He's on another level. A few months after he started on TikTok, he began receiving some rather strange letters. For him, it was just a bad joke, or maybe a distant admirer who had unfortunately found his address. Nothing too serious, really. For 3 days, nothing else happened, so he figured he must have imagined it all. Until he found a new note in his mailbox. In an envelope, with his name on it, and on this letter, just a few words. It said, "I'm here now. I won't let you go anymore." What does that even mean? Who are you? Mathias made the mistake of not taking the letter seriously. Then, after that, nothing else happened. Probably just a prank, right? In any case, Mathias was convinced that it was all over. He even joked about it on the app, saying that his life had become too quiet without it. But everyone knew perfectly well that he had a girlfriend. He resumed making videos at his own pace and streamed when possible, acting as if everything was fine and it was no big deal. Soon, he began streaming more often. At first, he didn't give any reason, but something was off. Many of his followers noticed it. It was like he was forcing himself to smile and act cheerful, but fortunately, he quickly came clean. He had felt watched for days, so he started streaming regularly to avoid paranoia. Even in the evenings, he'd go live just in case, so he wouldn't be bothered. As you can see, Mathias started to fall into a kind of paranoia, feeling like someone was watching him. So, to avoid getting caught by someone, he would start live streams to discourage the person from catching him or chasing after him. We don't really know exactly what was happening at that moment. We just know that Mathias felt watched, and that's the trigger for this whole story. It took some time to notice what was really wrong. In the videos where he wasn't alone at home, so at parties, at the gym, or in the street, there was always this woman who often seemed to be staring at him. So yes, it often happened that people stared at him, and it never really bothered him. But that look, somewhere between hatred and desire, he had never seen that before. He felt really uncomfortable looking at her. Little by little, his followers started to notice something a bit strange. In some of his live streams, his followers saw this figure in the background. This figure isn't someone close to Mathias, nor is it someone Mathias knows. No, it's nobody. And yet, this person that nobody knows was there. Very often, when Mathias started live streams in public, in completely random places, sometimes he would start live streams in a pub, sometimes he would start live streams just walking in Golden City, sometimes he would start live streams at night. And always, there was this strange figure behind them, watching. Who is this woman? What is this messed up situation? It just kept dragging on. So, Mathias started filming his videos unexpectedly, and then his anxiety suddenly shot up. Even there, she was present. These stories really started to get to him. So he talked more seriously about it with his girlfriend, except when he went to work, she started accompanying him everywhere he went. He kept telling himself that he shouldn't be so scared, that she had never come to talk to him, and besides, she was a woman. He was probably much stronger than her, and he could defend himself, but who knows why. He still believed that she could hurt him. Mathias always made sure not to be alone. Unfortunately, sometimes he didn't have a choice. And some people are crazy enough to do reckless things. That's what happened that night, when everything changed. Mathias left work a little late. Night had already fallen. His girlfriend was working, and all his colleagues had already left. He only lived about 10 minutes away. Since he lived in a small town, the streets were empty and not very well lit. Pretty run down. Personally, I wouldn't feel safe in his place. Going out somewhere that dark like that? No way. He had only taken a few steps. Then he heard a noise on his left. Not feeling safe, he pulled out his phone to start a live stream but didn't have time. A sharp pain pierced his chest before he could understand what was happening. A woman's voice sent chills down his spine. A voice whispered to him, "If you don't want me, there's no way I'll let you be with someone else." Then it went too far. It was a colleague passing by who found him. About 5 minutes later, that night, he almost died. But fortunately, he was taken care of in time, even though he lost a lot of blood. Yeah. The young woman literally stabbed him from behind. Of course, as you might expect, an investigation was conducted to find out who this young woman was, and it wasn't very difficult. There were a lot of clips from his live streams where she could be seen behind him, watching him. So she told the police that if she couldn't be with him, then no one could be with him. So she decided to end Mathias's life. Fortunately, she failed because Mathias survived. Today, the strange young woman has been committed and diagnosed with significant mental disorders. Mathias did not press charges against her. He slowly recovered from his injuries, he eased up on social media, and decided to take care of himself and his wife. The last case we're going to talk about is one of the weirdest cases I've seen on TikTok. But really, when I say it's weird, it's really strange. That's it. This case concerns a certain Paul. He was 18 years old when he discovered TikTok. And he was living a pretty quiet life. He lived with his parents, often saw his friends, went to high school, and was part of the basketball team. In short, he was a typical teenager. Paul, there you go, imagine Paul. A typical ordinary guy who plays sports, goes to class, that's it. And of course he goes on TikTok a bit. He was even pretty popular. There was only one thing about him that could put people off. His impulsiveness. He would get angry for no reason, couldn't stand being contradicted, and he often fought over nothing. It could have harmed him, and his parents tried everything to get him to see a psychologist, but he always refused. His friends tried to shake him up, and some even distanced themselves because he was so toxic. But nothing worked. He remained very annoying and unruly. But in the subjects he liked, he was very disciplined. At the end of his vacation, he moved onto campus. His room was right next to his best friend's. Lucky for him. He rarely saw him because of classes, since he wasn't in the same program. But it allowed them to spend some evenings together and feel a little less alone in this city they didn't know. After the excitement of moving in and discovering the place faded, everything began to change. It's strange, of course. Paul, who used to post on TikTok from time to time, started to do it more often. He even started doing live streams. Often in the evening, when he was alone doing his homework. These were really pretty standard live streams, except that there were a few strange things that happened during those live streams. The first event occurred a few weeks after he began live streaming. It's actually a strange event. You can see him studying, highlighting things, when suddenly his eyes roll upward. Then he doesn't move for about 3 seconds, and then everything goes back to normal, and he continues writing. It's really strange. It almost looks like he has some kind of blackout, as if he was called somewhere. It's very strange. It's a kind of absence, like he wasn't there for a few seconds. It's very strange. And it happened a second time the next day, still while he was studying. Suddenly, he lifted his head and rolled his eyes again. Once more. Very strange. Then everything went back to normal. I'll admit, even though only about 15 people watched his live stream, it was still surprising. We're witnessing someone who's literally having some really weird blank spells while studying. And this is just the beginning of this really strange story. At first, the viewers blamed it on fatigue. He got a lot of support, with everyone advising him to rest because he looked tired. Then, during a live stream, he started complaining about nightmares and pretty frequent migraines that bothered him during the day. For a while, he refused to see a doctor, but very quickly, he had to face the facts. Something's wrong with him. He needs to get checked out. There's something really strange going on. He has blank spells in the morning, noon, evening, and during live streams. It's odd. Each time it lasts 2 or 3 seconds, and he seems to disconnect, then reconnect. It's like his brain leaves and returns. Very strange. At the same time, he had crazy headaches that clearly kept him from keeping up in class. It was so painful that he could have banged his head against the walls. So he went to see a doctor, who gave him something to relieve all that. The doctor told him to come back if it didn't get better. There was some improvement, that's for sure, but he still had those headaches, like a dull pain, you know. You don't necessarily feel pain, but you can tell there's something going on. No, the viewers started to notice things in November. Really weird things. He was doing live streams later and later, overwhelmed by insomnia. Then it started with sudden jolts, even though there was no noise. He asked his viewers if they had heard anything, blamed it on exhaustion, but no one was convinced. He was fully awake when it happened, so the excuse was pretty weak in itself, but it was probably the most plausible one for him. It kept getting worse, week after week, day after day. He started talking to himself during his live streams, forgetting about his viewers, answering someone invisible. At first, it was just monosyllables, and it only lasted a few seconds before he came back to reality. The duration kept increasing, going from a few seconds to a few minutes. Whole minutes where this guy was talking to someone invisible live on TikTok. Ladies and gentlemen, we're dealing with one of the weirdest cases I've ever covered on this YouTube channel, not to mention in my spare time, and it's not over yet. You're not ready for what's coming next. He started scaring some viewers. But above all, everyone was starting to wonder what was happening to him. Apparently, his parents and friends were keeping an eye on him. He said during one of his lucid moments that his mother had asked him to stop streaming, and that it was messing with his mind. Given his tone and how upset he was, everyone quickly understood that he must have told his mother off, and honestly, that's what needed to be done. And everyone also noticed that he wasn't acting like himself, that he was getting lost in what he was saying, that he wasn't making sense. He didn't stop making TikToks though. In his videos, he seemed normal, but live streams were complicated. The turning point came one night around 12:30 AM. He was sitting at his desk, working on an assignment, when he suddenly stood up, looking angry. He opened his bedroom door and started yelling at an invisible opponent. He was really arguing with someone who wasn't there. But strangely enough, no one could hear this mysterious person he was arguing with. Meanwhile, everyone could hear him clearly. Then he went back into his room. Everyone thought it was over, but when they saw him come out of his room with a knife in his hand, everyone started to get scared. Some of his friends and classmates who were on campus followed him. Fortunately, they immediately called the police. I'm not sure you realize, but we're talking about someone doing a TikTok live, yelling at someone invisible, and returning to his room with a knife. What's going on? The guy is losing his mind. This is clearly Paul's last live, and he's about to say something that gave me chills. We'll end on that for this last case. He appears in front of his viewers on the live stream, you know, who are completely freaked out by what they've just seen and heard, you know. He ended up moving closer to the chat on his live. He said in front of his phone, "Please, he's here. He sees me. He never leaves my mind. He watches me at night." Then he ended the live. At that point, we realize Paul's insomnia is due to someone watching him. We also understand that if Paul is shouting at someone invisible, it's because someone is there, constantly staring at him. So who is this person staring at him? What's really going on in his head? Unfortunately, we have no idea. Today, Paul has been committed to a psychiatric hospital. Those live streams are the last traces we have of him. Honestly, I'm telling you, this is one of the things that made me feel the worst, because we don't know what happened. We don't know if there's really someone who took possession of his body actually, and who just observes him from time to time, like that, for fun. We don't know if he's hallucinating or just lying. I hope he's lying, but I doubt it. We really have no idea what's happening. We just know that overnight, there's a face watching Paul, and it drove him absolutely crazy. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of this video. Click your screen to spend more time with me and watch another terrifying story we released a few weeks ago. Go check it out. Anyway, that was Noah. Bye.